Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the Movie Crusaders. That's the new name of the channel. If you guys have not been paying attention to the Facebook boards, we are changing it from Sean's Movie Crusades down to Movie Crusaders. Reason why is Sean's Movie Crusades is very hard to find on YouTube because YouTube thinks we misspell it every time we type it in. So now we're just spelling Crusaders the correct way. It's now the Movie Crusaders because it's not just me anymore. With me, I actually pointed the right way this time. I'm so excited. Brian Michaels, fellow Movie Crusader. He's going to be on the show a lot more now, whether it be reviews for movies or us just talking about movies in general, which is what we're here doing today. Brian, 2020, it was a year.
Was it really? Because it seemed like 10.
It really did. It really did. 2020 was a shit year. I broke my foot. I was quarantined. Couldn't do jack crap. Movies were shut down. There was a lot of movies that came out, but not necessarily.
They came out in one form or another, on one medium or another.
Movies that we were excited to see didn't come out.
Oh yeah. I mean, like you, I think I did a most anticipated list at the beginning of the year, and most of that you'll see on my most anticipated for next year.
Which we will have that video coming out shortly.
Yes.
And yeah, it's basically going to be a mix of, I thought you guys have said this before, and we did. But they didn't come out. And that's kind of the long and short of it with these videos. We're doing a kind of a 2020 movie review, and normally I would do best and most surprised as two separate videos. We're gonna kind of just lump them together because this year it was very hard to come up with a top 10 list. It was even hard to come up with a top 5. Not that there wasn't good movies out there, but not movies that we really want to go, this is the top 5 best movies.
They're definitely the movies that were my top of what came out, but in any other year, most of them would have been pushed off of that list long ago.
And you and I were both in agreement on that. We're looking at our top 10 list, and we're like, these are the best of what we've got this year. But on a normal year, they probably would have been in the teens, 20s, what have you. So that's kind of what we're doing here today, guys. We're going to go over most surprises first. These are not necessarily the top films of the year, but these are films that Brian and I maybe went in with little to no expectations and ended up enjoying them quite a bit. They are not our top 5 best movies of the year, but these are definitely movies that we felt deserve some recognition in the year of 2020, and that's kind of how we're going to start it off. So, Brian, go ahead with your first one. What was one of your top surprises of 2020?
One of my top surprises for this year was a film called Buffaloed. That's a movie starring Zoe Deutsch.
Which here at the Movie Crusaders, we love Zoe Deutsch.
We really do. We really do.
Zoe Deutsch fans.
She's just adorable. I think she's a good actress. I think she can do drama. She can do comedy. In this movie, she has a horrible accent, which I'm sure is accurate for the character she's playing, but it's still obnoxious. But this is a movie. I put on my surprises simply because I didn't know anything about it. I had not heard of it. I didn't know it was coming out. I just saw her name on it and go, I got to check this movie out. And I loved this movie. She plays this tough as nails character. It's very comedic. It's got some drama to it though too as well. Jai Courtney is actually, tolerable, which you don't see much.
And I will say this was also a movie, like you said, I had never heard of. I caught a trailer, I think maybe once, and it was like, you see the trailer and then you forget all about it. And then you were like, you got to watch this Buffalo movie. It's got Zoe Deutsch. I'm like, okay, you sold me. I'm going to watch it. I literally just watched it last week, and I agree. Jai Courtney, loved him in Spartacus. Haven't really loved him in really pretty much anything since. But this movie worked for him. I actually really enjoyed him in this movie.
I guess he was born to be a smarmy asshole. So there you go.
Exactly.
But so this one was on my surprise just because I went in with no expectations because I knew nothing about it, and it ended up being probably in my top 10 of what actually came out.
I looked at it by the end of the movie. I was like, this is kind of like a small-time version of Wolf of Wall Street.
It really was very much a Wolf of Wall Street, Boiler Room, kind of all those kind of movies, yeah.
But yeah, definitely something to check out. I really enjoyed it. It's on, was it Hulu? Hulu?
Currently, I think it is on Hulu, yeah.
Yeah, so if anyone who hasn't seen Buffalo, and if you're a fan of Zoe Deutsch, Jai Courtney, which I don't know if you are, but if you like Spartacus, you like Jai Courtney. But you should definitely check out Buffalo. It's definitely a great one. Going to mine. This one, the whole movie internet community shit on this movie the first time we saw images of this film. But the creators did something that never has happened. They said, our bad, let us fix it. And put out a surprisingly decent film, and that's Sonic the Hedgehog. I think all of us collectively, when we saw that very first image of Sonic, went, holy crap, what the fuck is this? This looks horrible. And like I said, Sony was just like, all right, our bad. Was it Sony? I think it was Sony.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, our bad. We'll make him look like the real Sonic. And then it was like a night and day difference. And they brought Jim Carrey in as Robotnik, which I was like, that doesn't look like Robotnik to me. Who knows? But by God, Jim Carrey looked like he was having a blast. I have not seen Jim Carrey look like he was having fun in a very, very long time. And it brought back old 90s Jim Carrey to me. The movie itself, it doesn't blow you away with anything, but it was one of those movies where this movie was going to be a dumpster fire. This movie was going to go right down that video game road that we all know. And it surprisingly was like, I was watching, I was like, I'm enjoying this. I think Ben Schwartz does a great job as voicing Sonic. Yes. James Marsden does his usual co-star self. He's being James Marsden, and it works. And Jim Carrey, like I say, he looks like he's having so much fun. Could they have done more with the movie? Yes. But you know what? That's what sequels are for. But I think a solid surprise. I went in with the lowest of lows expectations, and I was like, I enjoyed that. That was good. That was something I would watch again. And that's why it's on my most surprised list.
Yeah, I would agree in that you described it as that they put out a surprisingly decent movie. Because I'm not going to call it a good movie. I was not a huge fan of it. My 10-year-old son saw it. He loved it. So obviously they hit their target audience. But yeah, I agree. We saw the beginning, the early trailers were like, what is this pile of shit? And it went and saw it, and it was tolerable. I still think James Marsden deserves better than just playing second fiddle to animated characters like he always does. But
one of the things with Marsden is he does these middle of the road ones, and we're all like, that was fine. And then when he does try to branch out, we're like, no, that was horrible. It's like fine, I'll go back to doing this stuff. It's like
don't say we. People do that. I don't do that. But I agree. This one actually turned out to be surprisingly better than I thought it would be.
Yeah, and like I said, in terms of surprises, like I said, we're not looking at the best movies. It's like you just surprised me. You made me go against what I thought I was going to go with. Right. What was your number 4?
My number 4. You know what? I just want to mention that this one, because it's kind of low on my surprise list. Okay. Just because I'm not going to call this one a good movie. It's a movie called Rogue.
I've heard of it. I have not seen it.
It stars Megan Fox. This is a movie that's kind of equal parts like a rescue op movie. She's like, I don't remember if it's Army Rangers or what special ops it is. She might be like a private security force or something. But it's also like a man against nature kind of thing with like they're trying to escape basically these lions. I think there's at least one lion. I think there's more.
Heart of Darkness,
kind of like that.
Or yeah. Ghost of Darkness.
Ghost in the Darkness, yeah. It's that kind of thing with these lions. But it really surprised me. That's why it belongs to my surprising picks, because you see essentially straight to video or VOD. It stars Megan Fox in the lead, trying to be a believable leader of a special ops team. I'm like, this is going to be gloriously bad. So I watch it, and it was actually decent. I mean, aside from some 90s level CG of the lion, the action I thought was actually very good. Megan Fox got to actually act in it and didn't do a horrible job. I thought she actually was at least believable as the character. And yeah, I just thought it was at least worth mentioning as a pleasant surprise. Again, not a great movie, but still.
And that's one of those things too. We put some of these actors in a real hard spot when they're front face with a big action film. Like Megan Fox gets shit on for Transformers. I don't think she's that bad at it. I really don't. I think she's doing what the script tells her to do.
Yeah, exactly. She was hired to be eye candy, essentially.
Exactly. And like I've seen Megan Fox do good things. I thought she was great in New Girl. You know, it's like she's capable of putting on good performances. We just don't see them as much. And you're saying that, you know, she puts on a tolerable performance in this. So that gives that, honestly, I remember the trailer, and it was one of those, like I said, with Buffalo. I saw it, I'm like, that looks intriguing, and then I just forgot all about it. But as soon as you mentioned it, I was like,
yeah, right. Like I'm not saying she's gonna win any awards with her acting in this movie, but it wasn't like, you know, seeing Pamela Anderson trying to be Barbed Wire. You know, this is somebody who can actually she's normally hired for eye candy, but she could actually be believable in the role at least. So. And
she's an Army Ranger, so I mean she's it's enough to the point where she can put on. It's not like Ruby Rose with the what was that freaking hotel movie she just did?
The Doorman.
Where I'm like, I don't know if I'm buying this, but like I buy Megan Fox as a ranger kind of thing. I mean, she's not like, you know, the Marines or anything. So I was like, I can buy this, but that's definitely one that I probably will have to check out at some point. Like I said, you told me about Buffalo, and I liked it. But and like I said, with the accent with Buffalo, yeah, that's the reason why I can't stand Buffalo Bills. Is that movie that movie right there is like, that's why I don't like people from Buffalo. Sorry from people from New York. I'm a Cowboys fan. Fuck Buffalo. But good season so far. But so going to my next one, this is one. I'm not gonna lie, I saw the trailer for it and I heard about what this movie was. I'm like, oh my god, this movie's gonna be shit. And I was just not prepared, not in the mood to see it. Everything I saw about it was like, it looked bad. Then the movie came out, and for some reason my Facebook decided we're gonna show you ad after ad after ad of this movie, to the point where I'm like, screw it, I'll check it out. And then was pleasantly surprised that I actually enjoyed the movie. And that's the Broken Hearts Gallery. Rom-com. I'm blanking on the actress for it. I gotta look her up real quick. But
good luck pronouncing it. Geraldine Viswanathan.
Geraldine, yeah, Viswanathan. Yeah.
I'll
let you say the name. We all know I suck at names.
The girl from Blockers. That's how you know her.
Yes. Was it Cena's daughter? I think it was John Cena's daughter in the movie. Yeah, that's where people know her from, is Blockers. And then of course, was it Darcy or Decree Montgomery?
Baker Montgomery.
Yeah, from Stranger Things, Power Rangers. And then also, and I honestly, this was what sold me on it, was Philippa Sue from Hamilton. She's one of the friends. And then I'm also a big fan of the other friend, Molly Gordon. Now, I loved her in Animal Kingdom, and she was in Booksmart and stuff like that. So like, I saw the cast, and I was like, you know what? I don't dislike any of these people. I didn't really know anything about Geraldine outside of she was also, what's that TBS show with Radcliffe? I
remember this show, but I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, it's killing me. It's killing me. Miracle Workers. Mm-hmm. So I remember from that, I was like, you know what? I'll check it out. You know what? It's surprisingly funny. The friendship between the girls makes sense. It's real to me. It's not like, I see a lot of the rom-coms like, we're girlfriends, woo, and it's just like, it feels fake. This felt legit. The romantic relationship works really well, and just the message behind it and how people hold on to the things that hurt them the most, and it's about them trying to let go and try to start over. The message I thought was really well done, and it's one of those rom-coms that like I, and you know this too, because like I said, Zoe Deutsch was it Set It Up like 2 years ago. It's like, it's a rom-com. And it was one of my favorite movies of 2018. Or was it 2017? I can't remember. But this is another one where I was like, I'm not excited for this, but I'll check it out. And while watching it, going, damn, I actually enjoyed this movie quite a bit. And it's one of those, like, it just came out on digital Blu-ray like the last month or so. But it's definitely one that if anyone was like, tell me a good rom-com that came out this year, I'd be like, Broken Hearts Gallery. Check it out. You will enjoy it, especially if you like that cast. And like I said, Philippa Sue, I think, is funny in it. Molly Gordon's great. And the two leads, like I said, I'm not going to say their names right now because I'll butcher it again. But yeah, it's really solid. Definitely a high recommendation from me on that. What was your number 3?
My number 3 is actually another one that kind of crept out to theaters when nothing else was coming out, like Broken Hearts Gallery. There's a movie called Words on Bathroom Walls.
I've seen the poster.
Yeah, and this is a movie. It's like, again, this one just made my list because I knew really zero about it. I didn't know anyone in the cast. Really, I think I'd recognize names, but like Walton Goggins is the only name I really knew in the movie.
The person we love Walton Goggins.
Oh, Walton Goggins is great.
Walton
Yeah,
he's the best.
Him and Timothy Olyphant, big fans around here.
If you guys have not seen The Unicorn on NBC, check it out. It is hilarious.
Yeah, Words on Bathroom Walls, though, it's basically about a kid who starts dealing with schizophrenia. He starts basically he's having all kinds of, and he's actually kind of seeing people that aren't there, and they kind of represent the different sides of him. Like there's a kind of nurturing girl played by Anna Sophia Robb. There's like the wild guy who's like his id, trying to encourage him to do things. And but it's actually a really good drama. I thought it was a great portrayal of mental illness and how he deals with it and his fears. Then he goes on medication and how that dims all of his other feelings and emotions, and when he tries to go back off of it because he falls in love with this other girl. and it just I thought it dealt with it real well. And there's especially Walton Goggins' character. With no spoilers here, but there's one scene with him because you go the whole movie, thinking one way about him, and there's one scene which just completely does a 180. And I will not be too proud to say I was actually starting to tear at that point. There's one excellent scene that he's in. So, but I would definitely recommend checking this out. Again, just a surprise because I knew nothing going in, and actually it was in my top 10 at the end of the year.
I honestly don't know anything about this movie, and you've sold me on it just for that alone. And like I said, and we haven't gone over this list before we went into the show. We kind of going into this blind, and that was when I was like, I don't know what this movie is.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, like, especially in the community that we're in, love like The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think it has the same kind of tone.
I love that movie.
It's very much the same kind of tone as that kind of movie. So I think that you will probably enjoy very much.
Is this on a streaming service or is this VOD?
No, because it just came out in theaters like recently, kind of like with Broken Hearts Gallery. So it just hit like you like paid, you can rent it and stuff like that. It's not on any of the free services yet.
All right, I'm definitely gonna check that one out because that is something I was not prepared for you to say, and now I'm happy sold on watching this movie. All right, so going to my number 2. Are we on 2?
3. Sure. 3.
No. Oh, I totally skipped my 4. Broken Hearts Gallery was my number 3. I totally.
That's okay. I didn't know we were going in name order before, so I didn't. And Buffalo actually probably would have been number 1. So.
I really haven't written down, and I totally because it's a small title, I totally just skipped right over it. So my number 4, even though I'm coming at number 3, is another movie that, in my opinion, should not have worked. I've seen movies like this, and they don't work. They are, except for one movie in particular, which was a surprise last year, was Host. It was one of the first movies that came out during the quarantine. It's a horror film, all done through a Zoom call. Like I said, these kinds of films, they don't work. I don't think Unfriended's good. I don't think what was that other horror movie that was like Unfriended?
Unfriended Dark Web?
No. Well, yes, but there was another one that was along the same lines. It was horrible. Searching worked with John Cho. That was fantastic. But that actually had an actual story to it. Host is it's a simplistic story. It's about, I think it was like 5 or 6 friends, and they all try to do a seance over a Zoom call, and they fool around like a horror movie you shouldn't do, and shit gets real fast. It's only like an hour long, so it's real quick. It doesn't overstay its welcome. Does it end up doing the one tropes of these movies and why it doesn't work? Whereas let me pick up my fucking laptop and show you and walk through the house with my laptop. No one's gonna freaking do that. Like, come on. But it's one of those things where it's like, we get it. You're gonna do it.
It's a plot device. They got to do it.
Otherwise, you have to do it. But it's stupid. Where it's like, let me pick up my laptop and turn it aside. We walk around the house like this. Like, you deserve to get killed at that point. But up until that point in the movie, I think for what it does incredibly effective. The cast is fine for what it is. But it was one of those movies where it's like, I had heard so many great reviews. Like, it's 100 on Rotten Tomato, which we all know how Rotten Tomato is kind of sketchy on its thing. But it has 100% on Rotten right now. Still does, actually. I just checked it yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, so I was like, all right. I was like, let me check this out because it's on Shudder, and it was one of those things where I was like, all right, I'm sure I'm gonna hate it, and I was like, you know what? It's not bad. It's effective. It does what it needs to do, and especially in this time frame when it came out, it does a good job of doing the devices properly with today's climate. Now, obviously, now we're kind of more open, but this was back when like no one's allowed to leave the house. You have to stay indoors, and they pulled it off, and that was one where it was like. Watch it. If I go to watch it now, it's probably like But at the time, I was like, you know what? Bravo for pulling that off. Like I said, if you have Shudder, like I said, it's like an hour long. It takes no time to watch it. But for what it did, I think it was a really effective horror.
That's one that I didn't see. I didn't know anything about it besides like the title. I heard people talking about it because some theaters opened up. Like around here, they were still closed.
And it's like Paranormal Activity and Blair Witch. It's all for the most part unknowns. Mm-hmm. There's no like real actors or actresses that you're like, oh, it's blah 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 from this. It's using people, and I think that's what makes some horror movies work really well. Is if you use relative unknowns as like a found footage, it gives you that element of it being more realistic. Because if you use an actor or actress that we all know, then it's like it takes that realism right out the window for me. So using relative unknowns, I think, is a huge positive in that, especially if they can do a decent job acting.
Yes, this is what I'm going to have to add to my watch list because I haven't seen this one yet.
Yeah. So what's your number 3 now? You're at 2 now. I'm so messed up on my things now. Yeah,
Like I said, I didn't even rank these. This is just my fourth one I'm talking about.
You know what? This is our first fucking show. We'll be cleaner next time.
And if we're not, we don't care.
Yeah,
my next one I'm going to say is Underwater.
I remember this. I was going to see it, and I just didn't.
Okay. Anybody who knows me knows that you're not going to win me over telling me to go see a movie starring Kristen Stewart. Obviously, I mean, she started out in Panic Room and some things where she did fine in. She went in that whole Twilight thing, which, you know, it kind of made you just hate people because of overexposure and hype around them. And then after that, she kind of went into a lot more like independent. She had a new phase of her career, did a lot of smaller movies.
Where she started to win me over personally.
Where I've heard she did good in, but she was doing a lot of movies that I had no interest in. But then this movie was coming out, and it was like, you know, it's a horror movie, and it's got Kristen Stewart, and I'm like, you know what, I'll check it out. And I really, really ended up liking this movie a lot. I mean, most of the movie is just a matter of tension and atmosphere, and I thought that was done so well by the director and by the way it was filmed. I think I love the way it starts out, because it just starts out like boom, right in the middle of the act. There's not like, you know, 20 minutes, half hour of setting up, you know, life in this underwater station before things happen. It just starts off with boom, the action starts. I mean, the tension, and she just really impressed me. Again, I'm not saying it's an award-winning performance, but I thought she did a great job in it. I thought the whole cast did a great job. There's Vincent Cassel's in there, T.J. Miller's in there, John Gallagher Jr., who I've really liked on everything from when he was on Newsroom to 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah, both those performances. I love those.
So this is a movie that if you like kind of slow burn tension horror films, I think you'll really like this one.
Yeah, I remember when the trailer came out. Like the first thing I noticed was obviously Kristen Stewart, and doesn't she have like a buzzed head in this, or like
it's like buzzed blonde hairdo.
Yeah, and then of course T.J. Miller. I'm a huge fan of T.J. Miller, and not to be like someone who name drops everyone, but I got to meet the guy, cool dude. And I loved him from Cloverfield, like, and of course Silicon Valley. But the whole trailer is just him throwing quip. I'm like, oh god, this doesn't look good. It's like it didn't look good on paper, but it was like it was like the first movie of the year, I think.
It was definitely the first week. I don't know if something else happened before it, but yeah.
I'll check it out, and then I got busy watching Oscar films that it just was like, I'm not gonna go to the theater to see this because I had heard negative things. But you're saying that it's a solid horror.
I think the people I know who didn't like it went in looking for a horror movie, looking in for a jump scare movie, looking for a horror movie, and it's not. It really is a slow burn tension kind of horror movie. It's all about the atmosphere. There are like, you know, action moments to it, but for the most part, it's all about the atmosphere. So if you like that kind of horror movie, I think you'll enjoy it.
So it's not like The Meg.
No, it's definitely not The Meg.
That was one movie that just pissed me off because it was going so well until the third act, and then just fucking fell apart. But cool. So Underwater works. That was one of those I was like, I always meant to catch it at some point. So now I'll have to check that one out. My number 2. Now we're back on track. My number 2. This is another one. I saw the trailer for it, and I was like, this is probably going to be incredibly corny. It's probably more for children. But the cast really was like, okay, you have me interested based off the cast, and went into it and just adored this movie. And it is Disney Plus's The One and Only Ivan. This movie had no business being as good as it is. It really isn't. Voice cast quality wise, Sam Rockwell as a gorilla, as Ivan, fantastic. And then of course another person I'm hugely high on, Bryan Cranston. I mean, put Bryan Cranston in anything, I'm gonna watch it, obviously, and I think most people will. But the animals were great. It's funny. It's got a ton of heart, and it just worked for me. I really, really enjoyed this film. It was one of those movies where I remember I watched it like at 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and I was like laying in bed, like, oh, I'll put it on, and I'll probably just like fall asleep. And I remember it, like just watching, going, like how Paddington was. Like, I'll put it on, I'm not expecting anything, and just watching and be like, this movie actually has me. Like it's grabbed my heart, and it's making me go like watch it and take notice. And like I sat up and I was like, all right, I'm in on this movie, and I just enjoyed it. And I remember I watched it. I went to you. I'm like, dude, One and Only Ivan, fantastic. You're like, I don't know what that movie is. That's 9 times out of 10 when I go to you, I go, Brian, this movie's great. You're like, I don't even know what that is.
Well, no, that one I knew what it was because my family, my wife, who's is a teacher, and both of my kids, had read the book, and they loved the book.
I never read the book.
So when I first saw it be announced, because this was originally one that was supposed to go to theaters.
It was
Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So when I told them, like, hey, I just read this is going to be a movie, and they're all like, oh, it's not going to be as good as the book. It never is, and all this stuff, because they just loved it so much and very protective of it. Mm-hmm. It came out, and they watched it. Well, here's what happens a lot of times is I was going to watch it, but I'm like, no, I'm going to wait and watch it with my family because they really want it and my kids want to see it. Then I find out, oh yeah, we watched it last night without you. Okay, great. So I've actually never gotten around to seeing this movie. I've seen a couple clips of it. Mm-hmm. I'm not, really excited about it, but based on the cast alone, I expect that when I do finally get around to see it, I bet I'll probably enjoy it quite a bit.
Let's put it this way. It does what Doolittle didn't do. Which I refuse to see Doolittle. It would be on my worst list. I guarantee you it would be. But I was like, F no, I'm not watching the Doolittle. Right. That looks like a dumpster fire. But stand out also, outside of Rockwell and Cranston, Danny DeVito. Danny DeVito is amazing in this. He plays the dog, Bob. The friendship between Bob and Ivan is awesome. Like you're invested in that friendship. It is fantastic. So yeah, definitely check that one out. If you're looking for a family film and you guys have not checked this out, this is definitely one to check out. It's on Disney Plus. If you guys have it, you guys will not regret it. I think it is a fantastic family film, real heartwarming and joyous in a world where it's not like that right now. But that is definitely one of them. So let's go to what is your number one most surprise? I'm pretty sure I think I might know what this is, and I agree with you.
Well, this is one that I wouldn't even say it's necessarily my number one surprise, but I knew that you would agree with it, so I saved this one for last. And that's a movie starring Daniel Radcliffe called Guns Akimbo.
Yes.
Guns Akimbo is a movie that I think I described it as Nerve. If you see the movie Nerve with Emma Roberts, meets Crank, the Jason Statham movie. This movie is just so insane and over the top in all the right ways. If you see the trailer for it, check it out. It's not a movie that's falsely advertised. It's exactly what you think you're going to get, which is just balls to the wall, crazy action. Just briefly, if you haven't seen it, it's a guy who basically he's like trolls these people on the internet who hold this game, this live action game where they go around like killing people, and he wakes up and finds guns bolted to his hands, and he's basically forced to play in this game. But anyway, it's just
I would say it's like if you ever played the video game like kind of like Manhunt or Running Man, it's a real life game where you have to hunt down and kill somebody or they will kill you first. It's basically two people are in basically a game of roulette and they have a whole world around them and everyone's watching them and you have to kill that person before you kill you. If you kill them, you're the champ and you have to keep playing until someone kills you. And yeah, he's a troll. He's the epitome of the internet community. He's a troll, and he runs his mouth till finally those people go, put him in the game, and he has no choice. And yeah, it's so good. The only knock I have is the villain is way too over the top in the movie.
It is a little bit cheesy, but it almost fits with the style of the movie because the style in this movie is cranked up to 11. It's kind of like a Crank. The violence is cranked up to 11. It's insane in all the right ways, and I really like that Daniel Radcliffe. He's one of those people who, in his post-Potter career, could have drifted into nothingness, or he could have gone, one of those people that goes, I'm going to do just indie stuff from now on, and because I don't want to be in the big blockbusters anymore. But he does such a good job, I think, of picking just such a variety of projects, and this is one that I think gets to show off. He's a very funny guy, and this
it's naturally funny. He doesn't have to do a lot to be funny. He just bees himself and it works. And like with this one, he's like you're not supposed to like his character. He's a D-bag, but he has that charm and funny to the work that you end up rooting for him. Samara Weaving, she's also in this and she's great. But it's one of those things where it's like you're like I want to just like all the fans, we want to see him get killed. We want to see him get smashed. And then as it goes on, you start to develop this likingness of this character. And like because Radcliffe's charming. He's a charming guy. And like I said, I agree. Like he just takes these risks like Swiss Army Man. Yeah. And he just does these movies. You're like, that's not going to work. What are you doing? You're like, holy crap, that worked. Who would have thought a movie about a dead body that farts would and it works. And in this movie, you're just like, Daniel Radcliffe as an action hero? No.
Yeah.
That would never, and it freaking works.
It really does. It's got a twisted sense of humor, and if you're looking for a movie that's just fun, check this out.
Like anyone who's fans of video games like Twisted Metal, Grand Theft Auto, Manhunt, anything, Borderlands. I don't want to go too far with Borderlands, but I mean, it's like just insane. Like there's no way this could happen in real life, but it is real life.
Yeah.
Check out Guns Akimbo. You will not be disappointed. Like that was one of those movies that like, I think I saw the trailer, I watched it, and then you ended up watching it like right around the same time. We were both like, dude, I gotta tell you about this movie. You're like, I do too. And we both go, Guns Akimbo. Oh, yes. It's like, it's one of those we just mutually saw it at the same time and just like loved it. And that movie is fantastic.
Last I checked, it was on Amazon Prime, so everyone should check it out.
Oh, it's on Prime now? So good. Check out Guns Akimbo. And going to my final surprise of the year. This is honestly probably the movie that I've watched the most out of 2020. Is it one of his bests? No, but I think just every aspect of the film itself just works really well. That it's one that I keep going back to, and that is Will Ferrell's Eurovision Song Contest: The Story of Fire Saga. It's on Netflix, and it's based around the real show Eurovision Song Contest, which is basically like Europe's like American Idol kind of thing. And you have Will Ferrell and Rachel McAdams there from Iceland, and all they've ever wanted to do is make it to this contest and win. And Will Ferrell takes it way, way too seriously, and the whole town just thinks he's kind of this loser guy and weird and stuff like that. And Rachel McAdams is like in love with him, but he's too aloof to really pay attention to it because he's so focused on winning. And it's one of those performances where it's like with Will Ferrell, it's one of those things where most movies he's unlikable, but it's Will Ferrell, so you kind of just put up with it. His character is not an unlikable character. He's just driven. He's not an asshole. He's a generally nice guy, but he's just so focused on wanting to do this and win that it just takes over his whole life. And Pierce Brosnan plays his father. He's great in it. Dan Stevens, Beauty and the Beast, The Guest, all that. He plays the number one rated singer in the contest. He's fantastic in this movie. He's the Russian. Great. There are so many great moments in this movie. The music, the final song at the end of the movie is a beautiful, beautiful song. There's a very funny song in it that they sing multiple times. Anyone who knows it, I'm just going to say, I think it's Ya Ya Ding Dong. It's exactly what you think it is, and it's awesome. Is it a little too long? Yes. It's at 2 hours. It probably could have cut about 15 to 20 minutes off of it. But like I said, it's not the funniest Will Ferrell movie. It's definitely not his best, but it just, for some reason, Rachel McAdams is I love Rachel McAdams, especially when she does like these kind of comedies like Game Night, Wedding Crashers, where she plays like this sweet character, but has great comedic timing. She's fantastic in it. Like I said, Dan Stevens is great as well. And there's this one kind of almost like, it's not a one shot, but there's this one musical number in the middle that's weird, but awesome. And what I didn't know at the time, and it makes more sense now, is that it's actually featuring a lot of the past winners of the real life Eurovision. So it's kind of a tip that it doesn't make fun of this contest. It actually takes it with a lot of respect and makes it its own thing, which actually gave me more kind of praise towards it, because Will Ferrell, he likes to take everything to an 11, and he tries to make it overzealous and outlandish. And this is this is the way it is. This is how this show is like, and he takes it with a lot of respect. And I really, really enjoyed this movie. And like I said, you hadn't seen it, but it's
I haven't. For me, it's like a little Will Ferrell goes a long way, and I think he can be really good in movies, and he can be in movies where I just really am not interested. And now, for some reason, this one, when I heard about it, I was given flashes like Blades of Glory and some of these other movies.
It's like Blades of Glory, but he's not an asshole. He's not a dick in this movie.
You don't have Napoleon Dynamite there. That helps.
Yeah, John Hughes is not in it. Yes, guys, we both hate Napoleon Dynamite. We don't care what you think.
Used to it.
It's
But no, you're right. I have not seen this one, but since I've heard you raving about it, it's one I intend to see. Especially like you said, Rachel McAdams. I love her, especially when she's doing the more lighthearted comedy stuff. And because I mean, I enjoy her in dramas too, but I like to see her comedic side. So this is one I'm definitely going to check out.
Yeah, and I literally just watched it last week, and I still loved it as much as I loved it the first time watching it. But yeah, definitely check that one out. And I think that concludes our surprises of the year. And now we will go into our best of the year. Brian, what was the start of your top 5 for best of the year? Now,
Okay.
now, guys, we're telling you this right now. This is not. I mean, mine is my top 5. Brian's he's just kind of going with it. But once again, we're not saying these are the best 5 movies of the year. We know there's movies like Mank and Nomadland and all this stuff. We haven't seen those movies yet. We only seen the movies that we've seen. Now, some of these movies are really great films. They are, but they're probably not going to be on the top 5 list of most people throughout the end of the year. I would say 1 or 2 of them probably are. But these are the movies that we ourselves really, really loved and are our 5 best films of the year. So going into that,
with all these disclaimers having been said,
yes.
yeah, because just whenever I'm ranking my best of the year, I'm always going by my personal enjoyment. So while there may be better made films, like do I think Schindler's List is a excellent film? Yes, but I'm never going to want to watch it again. But I may enjoy a movie like, I don't know, Dumb and Dumber, which is stupid. It's obviously not a great film, but I enjoy it a lot. So just to give you an idea of how I make my lists. But my number 5 of what actually came out this year is actually a film from Guy Ritchie called The Gentleman, which some places will tell you it's a 2019 film. In the US, it came out in 2020.
I count it as a 2020 film myself.
So this is a movie actually I almost would have put on my surprise list because Guy Ritchie is very hit and miss with me. But it had a great cast, had a great trailer. I just watched it again actually a couple nights ago. And it's one of those movies where I love the dialogue. I love the banter between people. I love that this is the kind of film where Guy Ritchie's style works. I mean, he tries to shove his style into like King Arthur, not so much. But when he tries to show it in this kind of movie, it's perfect. He's back to his bread and butter with this movie.
You're saying his style works?
Yeah, sometimes.
I'm not a Guy Ritchie fan. I don't like his style.
Not in Aladdin, things like that. But when he does his like crime things like this, I think he does work.
I want to watch. It's one of those like the cast has me sold, but it's Guy Ritchie that holds me back from watching this movie. It's like
if you like the cast, I would really recommend giving it a chance because Matthew McConaughey, who has turned to doing mostly dramas in his lately, I think he's having a lot of fun in this. He's playing a mostly serious character, but even he gets to have some fun in it. It's got Charlie Hunnam's in it. Hugh Grant is excellent in this movie. Henry Golding is having a year. He's having a great year in a year or two lately. Colin Farrell is great in it, and it's just worth checking out.
I think I started watching it one night, and then it was like because I was watching it like on I think it was like Prime or something like that, and like 5 minutes in, my internet cut out, and I was like, well, that's just God's way of telling me don't watch Guy Ritchie. So, and I never went back to it. It's like, but yeah, no, I love Charlie Hunnam. Colin Farrell is great. Hugh Grant is great in a lot of things. It's like the cast looks great. It's just I don't like Guy Ritchie films. I just don't. And watch my next trivia match. Guy Ritchie's gonna be a freaking strength, and I'm gonna have to watch all this movie.
Taking notes, okay?
Yeah, okay, guy who made me watch the freaking Monty Python movies. You dick.
You're gonna lose viewers now.
I don't care. We already lost viewers because of Napoleon Dynamite. We're gonna lose viewers on one of your other top films of the year as well. We don't care. We're here for us.
We are. Oh yeah, we are.
We are. But yeah, I will have to eventually break down and watch The Gentleman. I know I will, and the cast will probably help me. It's just I just don't like the Guy Ritchie shoots this stuff. But
understandable. I can see that.
Yeah, but all right. So going into my 5, and I said this in my review for it. There are movies where the plot, we've seen these plots over and over and over again, and they're all done the exact same way. The real thing is, can you be different enough to sell me on this plot that we've seen many times before? And if so, will it work? And this one is a plot that we have seen so many times before, but they did a little bit something different, and the cast worked really well, and that is Freaky. The whole body swap thing. We've seen the body swap thing done 1,000 times. We've seen it with Parent Trap, Freaky Friday. We've seen it with Hot Chick, which I personally love the Hot Chick. And now we got it with Freaky, but here's the difference. It's a serial killer body swap, which I was like, ooh, intriguing. And then you have Vince Vaughn, who hasn't really, in my person, hasn't been funny in quite a while. What's her name? The main lead. I'm blanking on her name. Catherine Newton?
Catherine something.
Catherine, I think it's Newton. If
Newton,
it's not,
yes.
I apologize. I've been a fan of her since she started popping up on Supernatural. I think she's a fantastic actress. And just the cast of this, and like, and the two best friends, are they cliche like in the trailer? Yes, but they actually really work in the movie as a whole. But I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I think just like I said with Jim Carrey with Sonic, Vince Vaughn looks like he's having a blast making this movie. There are scenes in this movie. I'm gonna say the car, the backseat scene, where I was just like, he's not really gonna do this, and then he does. I'm just like, bravo, dude, bravo! Like I was so happy to see Jim Carrey and Vince Vaughn just come out this year and just have fun again with their movies, because like they've been doing a lot of drama or just really bad movies in general. And this year they both, I think, came out and just said, F it, let's just have fun. And Freaky, it's fun. Does it go a little too much at the end? Sure. But I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. And the gore and the kills. I was not expecting kind of the creativity with some of the kills here. Enough for me to go, all right, yes, I really, really like this. And enough to make Vince Vaughn terrifying, at least for the first act. When he's a serial killer, they make him like a Jason. And it works. It works so well. And then he goes to being a little girl. And it works so well. And Catherine Newton, when she does the whole switch, I don't really buy her as like the nerdy girl, because Catherine Newton is like pretty. And like but they do that with all the movies. You gotta like suspend disbelief that the pretty girl's ugly. Which we're gonna talk about that in a different video on another film. But when she goes bad, it works. She does a great job, and I think Freaky works really well. And it was one of my surprises, but it was one of those things where I was so happy with the trailer that it didn't surprise me how much I liked it. But I think it was one of those where we've seen that premise enough; it shouldn't work. Same thing with Happy Death Day. I hated the trailer for Happy Death Day, but loved that movie because it was a premise that we had seen so much before, which actually rolls into our mutual number 4, which is also the premise of like Happy Death Day, and that is Hulu's Palm Springs. We both love this movie. Once again, another premise, Groundhog Day. But Groundhog Day rom-com, which Groundhog Day probably was, I would say it's more comedy than a rom-com that had the romantic elements.
Yeah.
Take it away, Brian. I talk too much.
No, that's fine. I was kind of going to talk a little bit about Freaky, kind of right into this one, but Christopher Landon.
Hold on. Let's go. I want you to talk about Freaky. Let's go Freaky, and then we'll go right into Palm Springs.
Well, no, it kind of blends into that, because I was just going to talk about Christopher Landon, the director. I really like how he's been able to take movies or kind of subgenres that we know, like the time loop movie, and he did Happy Death Day, and he put a new twist on it, the horror twist, that worked really well. And then he took the body swap, and he decided, oh, you know what, we can put our spin on this. That's really well. If you haven't seen Scout's Guide to the Apocalypse, you like zombie movies, that is a great movie.
I actually have not seen that one yet.
You really should see it. It's a lot of fun. It's got Ty Sheridan and a bunch of other people in it, so that's worth seeing. But then this is another one with Palm Springs, where they took a genre, this time loop genre that we've seen done several times, but it was something new to it, a different style to it. It kind of has that Lonely Island kind of approach to it. And really, this is a movie that I didn't even know was coming. I just one day it's like, oh, here's a trailer for this movie coming out on Hulu. Was it Hulu?
Yeah, too. That's the thing within 2020 so far, and some of these movies on my list is that they were movies that just a trailer popped up and then like within 2 weeks it got released. We're like,
yeah, I was like, I hadn't even heard this movie being made, and I'm like, yeah, okay. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie. So I went in with no expectations except knowing that I love Pop Star. Hot Rod I thought was enjoyable, but I thought Pop Star was great. So when I saw this one, I'm like, I'm gonna check this out, and it was really funny. I thought Andy Samberg was great. I thought J.K. Simmons was probably the MVP of this movie. Kristen Milioti, who plays kind of the love interest and somebody else who gets caught up in the time loop, I thought she did an excellent job, and it's just a lot of fun.
I mean, that's the thing that I said with Groundhog Day. We've seen this done before. We saw it with Happy Death Day. It worked. Groundhog Day, obviously Bill Murray. It works. But what can you do differently? Obviously, you have a love thing going on. Happy Death Day did it with Killers. This one was like, oh, it's the same wedding over and over again. What can you do differently? And the story, I think, worked fantastic with Andy Samberg's character, where he he knows the repercussions of what he does. He is doing things that is, like sleeping with every girl at the wedding and stuff like that. And it's like, because there's no repercussions to that. But like when it gets to the point where at that one point in the movie where she's like, let's kill this person. He's like, no, because while they come back to life the next day, I have to live with that. I did this. Like, I can't be a dick like that. Like, I have to, like, they start over and we start over a day, but I remember.
Well, that was just it. Whereas in like Groundhog Day, where somebody is like, it's like their personal hell to be in this time loop. He's embraced it. He's like, this is great. I can do anything now with no repercussions.
He created his own rules, and then you also see the what it happens when you bring someone into that world, which is what happens with Christina's character. I'm blanking on her character name in the movie, but and someone else is. You don't want to do this on your own. So when you bring someone in, and then you also have to kind of take responsibility for you've now ruined their life as well, and how that kind of weighs on you and all that kind of stuff. And then what happens when bringing that person in does not work out for you, and you have to deal with that every day. That's the thing is like with Groundhog Day, it's Bill Murray. He's going to kind of do his own deal until he figures it out. This movie had repercussions, and you had to kind of take yourself in check with what you did, but it did it in a funny way and in a dramatic way that worked. And that's what I love so much about Palm Springs. Fantastic performances all around from everybody. Like you said, J.K. Simmons is great in it and all that stuff. But I love that you really had to kind of keep yourself in check. And it really kind of showed you off of, can you be a good person or are you just a horrible human being? And if you're a horrible human being, can you be redeemed when you're in this particular situation? And that's why I love the movie. I thought it was fantastic. I think most people are kind of in agreement. Everyone's loved Palm Springs. I haven't really met anyone who didn't like Palm Springs. But yeah, that's our collective number 4. We both were in agreement on that one. Let's go ahead and jump to your 3. What was your 3?
My 3 is another one you can find on streaming because that's the only place to put anything out this year, and that is Netflix's The Old Guard. The Old Guard was Charlize Theron, basically kind of the head of this group of essentially immortal mercenaries. And this is a movie where, I mean, Charlize has kind of shown she can do the action thing. She's done Mad Max. She's done Atomic Blonde, of course, where she was phenomenal in that one. And this is just another one in kind of that series where she shows that she can really make a great action star. But the whole cast I thought was very excellent. I love the world they built with it. It was it's something kind of new we haven't seen before. And I really like the way it was done. And this is another one that just kind of came out of nowhere. I didn't even hear of this movie until I saw a trailer for it. I'm like, okay. And I watched it and it's a little, I would say it's a little bit long. There are some slow parts to it, but I think it's one of those movies that when it works really well. Again, I love the world it built up. My only other complaint is I think it's got the worst soundtrack of any movie I've seen this year.
I remember because you saw it before I did, and you're like, this soundtrack is abysmal. And I remember going into it just like waiting to hear the music because I've heard horrible soundtracks. Because there's times where I'm watching a movie going, what the hell is playing right now? I didn't really get that in this movie until like near the end, where I was like, that's a weirk choice.
I was feeling it pretty early, but then again, I'm just an old man, so.
You're like, what is this music?
Damn kids today.
Yeah, no, it's like I say, great world building. I think Charlize can do these movies in her sleep. It's more or less like with Bruce Willis, stuff like that. Like they can sleepwalk through movies, but they don't give a shit. Charlize cares about her performances in these movies, and she does a stellar job. I think the cast around her works really well, and just the whole immortal kind of thing and how they kind of deal with it and live in that world of it. And if they decide to do sequels to it, because they kind of left it kind of open-ended for sequels.
I think I've heard they're already going to. It's just a matter of they don't know when. Yeah.
Okay, because I'm super excited to see where they go from here, especially with some of the characters, and of course, the mid-credit scene at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited to see where they go with it. Just get a better, soundtrack person next time. And also, I almost forgot this person. Was it Harry Melling? No.
I don't know his name because I'm not the big Harry Potter guy. So you're talking about?
Yeah. I think it's Melling. He's like the rich guy who wants the cure. Harry
Kind of the
Melling,
villain, the antagonist.
who plays freaking Dudley Dursley in Harry Potter. I really, really dug his kind of swarmy rich guy character. Like, you know, like, and it was not really spoiler because you've seen one of these movies, you've seen them all. He's like, I want it for the cure. It's going to help people. And then you just find out, like, no, he wants it for fucking profit. And when he goes from like that character to that character, he does it so well. And that is the one actor that, like, you just think, like you said with Radcliffe earlier, he's probably like this one note guy. And now he's starting to come out and started doing all these movies. You're like, oh, wow, this guy actually's got some range to him. And we always just saw him as the fat Dursley kid from the Harry Potter films, and now he's skinny. He still looks weird as hell. But he's actually pretty good in this movie. And then I'm blanking on the names of the rest of the cast, but I said I really like the cast around her in the film. But yeah, Old Guard, yeah, definitely a fun Netflix movie. It did everything that I think we wanted with Extraction that we didn't. Because that was one of those where it was like, oh, this is going to be great. And it was just kind of like...
Well, Extraction had phenomenal action scenes, but the story was kind of This one, I think it did such a good job of building up the world that it worked.
Yeah, like that was part of the Extraction. Like, it has one phenomenal scene and then a great end, but the story was just kind of nothing. Yeah. But yeah, definitely check out Old Guard if you guys haven't. It's on Netflix. My number 3, once again, this movie snuck up on me. I saw the trailer and I was like, okay, I'm sold on this movie. And then it was released on video on demand, so you had to pay to see it, which I know most people probably didn't. But this was also supposed to be released in theaters, and it didn't happen. And that is Love and Monsters. I'm a huge Dylan O'Brien fan, and I love Jessica Henwick. She was one of the good parts of Iron Fist when that came out. And then, of course, you also have Michael Rooker. All right, Michael Rooker. Who doesn't
Jessica
like
also an underwater, by the way.
What's that?
Jessica Henwick's also an underwater, by the way.
Oh, is she? There you go. I love the world that was created in this. I know we've said that on multiple films already, but the world they created this, where basically a asteroid or meteor, whatever you want to call it, was coming towards Earth. The world decided, let's Armageddon this and shoot nukes up at it and blow it up. And the residents of it came down, which caused all the insects and creatures that are on our planet to grow to exponential leap, which led to basically the apocalypse. And now people are surviving in underground bunkers and stuff like that. And Daniel Bryan's character and Jessica Henwick, they were young lovers who got separated. And they're about 80 miles away from each other. And it's been like, I think like 5 to 7 years or what have you since the events of the thing. And finally, Dylan O'Brien's character is like, screw it. I'm tired of not being with the woman I love. And so he decides, I'm going to go on this journey to get to her, which 80 miles seems like nothing to us, but 80 miles in a world where cockroaches are the sides of buildings and frogs will eat you because they're huge, is 80 miles is like going across the entire U.S. to them in this world. And like I said, Dylan O'Brien does a fantastic job in this. Henwick is great in her role because obviously she's got a smaller role because it is a Dylan O'Brien story. But just the world around the creatures, very, very little CGI. It is very practical effects, and I think it works fantastic. Michael Rooker and the young actress, Ariana Greenblatt. Many people know her as young, what's her name? Guardians of the Galaxy.
Gamora.
Yeah, young Gamora from Infinity War and Endgame. She actually has a non-makeup role in this. She's actually playing a person. She's great in this. And the dog in this movie. The dog in this movie is one of the best actors, and that's not a dig. Like, just watching this dog, I'm like, how do they get this dog to just like be cool in certain scenes and stuff like that? Like, I loved everything about this movie. This movie, I can't say more nice things about this film. I hope to God they keep making more of these films because I want more of this film, whether it's a series or movies. I need more of this world from Love and Monsters. And it ended open-ended as well. So I hope we get more. This is one of my favorite movies of the year, hands down. And obviously most surprising. But once again, just like with Freaky and stuff, like I loved the trailer, so I wasn't surprised how much I loved it, but I wasn't expecting it to, me personally, be as good as what I ended up loving about it. I know you weren't as big of a fan as I was, but I loved this movie.
You know, I did enjoy the movie. It's in the top half of my movies for the year. I honestly don't remember why it didn't rank it higher, because I mean I did enjoy it for the most part. It just didn't quite boost it up into the tops for me. But yeah, I really like the movie. I like the concept. I like the cast. I agree the dog was hilarious in this movie.
Yeah.
Dylan O'Brien, he's another actor, kind of like the Daniel Radcliffe, where I really like kind of the choices he's made. He could have just kept doing Maze Runner kind of YA stuff, but he did American Assassin, which I thought he was excellent in, and he's done this kind of thing, and I'm curious to see where he goes from here.
And he's fantastic in Teen Wolf. If you guys haven't seen Teen Wolf, he's one of the best parts of that show. And like I said, a lot of people, they probably didn't see this movie because it was like $20 to rent it. It does come out on digital and Blu-ray, I think, in like a couple weeks. So if you guys have not seen it,
I believe it's on digital now. I think I just saw it added like this week. Yeah,
I think it comes out on like Blu-ray like on the 10th. So yeah, 2 weeks out. So yeah, it's out on digital now. Like I said, love this movie. Check it out. It's one of my favorites of the year. I think we're on your number 2.
I'm going to let you go your number 2 first, because my 2 I think is your 1. No?
Oh, is your 1 the one that we think we're going to get canceled for?
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay, then yes, we'll hold that off.
So you do your 2 first.
So my number 2, this one is on a lot of people's best of for the year, and I don't care. I am personally not I don't want to be taken as this as like, oh, you're a racist, because I don't want that to be. I'm not a big fan of his movies, and it's not because of the subject matter. It's just he kind of like with Guy Ritchie. I'm not a big fan of the way he shoots his stuff and some of the stuff he does. And but this movie I thought was phenomenal, and that was Spike Lee's Da 5 Bloods on Netflix. This film, is it overly long? Yes. Could they have cut about 30 minutes off this film? Yes, they definitely could. But I thought this film was fantastic. Between 4 Vietnam vets who became brothers during this war. 5 if you count the Vietnam vet that they are going back to visit. Delroy Lindo. I've seen him. He's one of those actors that you see in so many films. He's good, but you don't think about him much, stuff. But this dude, in my opinion, deserves an Oscar for his performance in this film. He deserves a nomination. If he does not get nominated, I'm going to flip a table. That is how good his performance is in this film. Is he gonna win? Probably not, because this movie came out too early in the year and they love giving it to everyone at the back end of the year. But if he is not nominated for this movie, I'm gonna flip shit. His performance in this film is one of the best performances I've seen in the past 5 years, hands down. Everyone else in this film does a fantastic job. The late phenomenal Chadwick Boseman, he's a great supporting character in this. He's only in it for like maybe, I think, a total of like 10 minutes, but his 10 minutes resonate throughout the film. He is the driving force for these 4 people in the film. It is a great kind of, someone described it as this, and I kind of inclined to agree, like Platoon meets The Treasure of the Sierra Madre. And I think that is a perfect way of kind of explaining this film. And then you have your Spike Lee isms in the movie. But this movie is driven by the performances of these 4 guys, and of course Delroy Lindo. It's mind-boggling how amazing. Like, we haven't seen this performance from him before. That is how powerful his performance is in this film, and the way they shot the film too. Because I would say this movie is kind of like a 3-4 act play in a sense. And the way they shot the flashbacks, because when they go to Vietnam, they show flashbacks. They don't like de-age the guys, because they're thinking it back in their head. So when they're in Vietnam, it's their old versions playing the Vietnam scenes. Because when they're thinking back, they're not thinking back to their younger selves. It's them thinking back to the scene. And it's them currently in those scenes with young Chadwick Boseman. But when they change the aspect ratio, they go to 4:3 when it's Vietnam, because it's old. And then when it goes back to current, it's back to widescreen. Just a great directorial decision for Spike Lee in that. And I just love how they did everything. Like I said, it does go a little long in the 3rd act. They could have cut that down. But it was one of those things where it's kind of like I'm not going to say it, but it's one of the things with Delroy Lindau's character descends into a certain situation of his character. It runs a little long, but I get why it was chosen to do that. It's just to get to the point where it's like, okay, we need to start wrapping it up. But Defy Bloods, it was powerful. It resonated with me. It is something that I've only ever seen it the one time, but I still think back. And there's one scene in this movie that is easily one of the best scenes of the year. There's a lot of scenes in this movie actually that I could pinpoint, but there's one scene between a father and a son. That's all I'm going to say. It is such a intense, just you're on the edge of your seat because you just are like terrified of what's about to happen. And it is so well done. And like I said, Lindau's performance, one of the best I've seen in 5 years. And you haven't seen this one, right?
I have not, and I've never been a big fan of Spike Lee, although I usually get around to seeing most of his movies eventually. And this is one that I really do plan to watch. I've sat down a couple times, but honestly, the over 2.5 hour running time, I'm just like, oh, I'm not in the mood for this. It's one I mean to watch eventually, especially now that I didn't know about some of these directorial decisions and things. So I'm curious to see it. So.
It's a slow build. It's a slow build because you kind of like the first 30, 45 minutes, it's more or less these guys coming together because they haven't seen each other in years. So you're getting that kind of buddy, reminiscent kind of stuff. And then we finally get into what the actual mission of the film is. And that's when it really starts to get going. So there is a lot of building of character development between these characters, which is good as long as it's interesting. And it is interesting in this. Like I said, but that's part of that runtime is that they're building this world. They're building these characters so you can kind of understand everyone's motivations and reasonings and the way they are. It's near the third act where it starts to kind of go, all right, we need to either speed this up or move it along. But yeah, it's fantastic. And that's the one thing I've told so many people, you got to check this out. And then like they see the runtime and they're like, I don't want to. It's like 2:45 or something like that.
Like 2:40, I think it is, something like that. Yeah.
It's like I don't have time to watch that. I'm just like, it's not The Irishman, guys. It's not. Trust me, you're gonna enjoy this.
He just lost more viewers.
I don't care. The Irishman is not good. We're gonna get so many thumbs down just for that alone, but I don't care. But yeah, the Defy Bloods. I sound so weird when I say Defy Bloods every time, but it's on Netflix. It's fantastic, and like I said, I'm going to flip a table if Lindau is not nominated for Best Actor. Okay, so I guess you said your 2 is my 1. So I guess we're going to go right into that, and then we're going to go into the dumpster fire of what your number 1 is. I don't hate the movie, but I know a lot of people don't like it. But so go ahead and say what our number 2 is.
Our number 2 is another one that ended up going direct to Netflix. The Trial of the Chicago 7. This one, as your number 1, I'm going to let you take most of the time on this one, except to say that I have a certain expectation when I sit down and watch an Aaron Sorkin movie because I think he is one of the best writers working today, and here he actually directs as well. And I thought that he knocked it out of the park, and it's everything you would expect from an Aaron Sorkin movie. I'll just leave it at that and let you take it away.
I mean, I'm talking too much. It's one of those things where I've always heard of Aaron Sorkin. I honestly, and it's not because I haven't, and I probably will watch it someday. I've never watched West Wing, so I never had that. Like he did West Wing, right?
West Wing, yeah, he was one of the creators.
Okay, I was like, I didn't just say the wrong person. But Social Network, I don't think it's the best movie ever, like a lot of people do. But it's good. It's really good. It's really well written. With this one, I went into it kind of like, we'll see how it is, because I'm not the biggest Sacha Baron Cohen fan. I'm not. I don't like his Borat, Bruno, whatever the third one is, the Ali G. I'm not a fan of that. But he does do good things. And Eddie Redmayne, he's fine. I'm not crazy about him. But you got Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who I love. Mark Rylance is really good. And help me, I'm going to butcher this guy's name. It was like Yahya.
Oh, Yahya Abdul Mateen?
Yes. This dude is just going off, like with Watchmen, and I'm so excited to see him with Candyman next year. I am loving this guy and everything he's in. But this cast is incredible. Sacha Baron Cohen does a phenomenal job in this film. Eddie Redmayne, fantastic.
Even just people who show up in small parts like Michael Keaton and Frank Langella and all these people, yeah.
Yeah, Frank Langella is the worst judge ever, and he does it so goddamn well. Even what was this? It's another one of those kind of like Lindau. It's another one of these actors where you see him in so many things.
John Carroll Lynch? No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which character you're referring to. So.
I'm literally looking it up, so because it's my number one, so I want to give people their due. I'm looking it up on IMDb real quick. Do some talking while I'm looking this up.
Well, I just want to talk about. I was talking about Aaron Sorkin. I think one of the things that I think he does best, one of the reasons I love him, is the way he writes dialogue. The West Wing, Social Network, Molly's Game, American President. We did that. I think that he's just has a great voice to him where it sounds a little bit unnatural, but it's also still very. It doesn't feel like out of place, and it's very entertaining, and it's just a great banter in the way he talks, and he has a very specific voice to him. So I mean, I thought he brought a great job to this. I think Sacha Baron Cohen you're mentioning, I think that in this one he's basically just playing a role. He's not doing a character like he does in a lot of his movies, and I think he does a very good job here, and shows that he can actually just play a role.
I can't find him. I'm not gonna keep having you filibuster while I'm trying to look it up. But yeah, also Michael Keaton. He's got one scene, but he does so well with it. Also, John Carroll Lynch. That's not who I was thinking of, but John Carroll Lynch. He's one of those guys that he just does great things, and he doesn't get credit for it. He's great in this as well. Just the build of the story and the way you're seeing it come from different angles, because you're hearing one side and then you see the other side and you don't know quite which one's the real one. So you kind of have to just go with in between, but the performances are stellar throughout. And like I said, Aaron Sorkin, I was just watching this and I'm halfway through and I'm like, I can't really find anything wrong with this movie yet. Usually I can get about halfway through and go, they could have done this better. They could have done this better. This one, I was just like, I'm halfway through. I'm like, I can't find a single thing wrong with this movie. Jeremy Strong, he's another one. Fantastic in this movie as well. But yeah, this movie, by the end of it, I was just like, okay, I guess this is number one because I can't find a single thing wrong. And I love the performances. I love the writing. The story was engaging all the way through. And there's nothing I can find wrong with this movie. Now, I will say this because I said I was going to mention it. It's my favorite, like, viewing experience of the year. But it's not a movie, so we're not going to count it on the list. But Hamilton this year, I had heard about that stupid thing for how many years, and I was just like, oh, I'm not a big stage play guy, but Hamilton is phenomenal. But we weren't going to count it as a ranking because it's not technically a movie. The recording, it's not a movie. People who put it in their top movie of the list, it's not a movie, guys. It came out in 2020, but it is a recording of a thing. But we just want to make sure we at least mentioned it, that Hamilton was fantastic. Performances are fantastic. But yeah, but Chicago 7, because Hamilton was like my number one for the whole year. But even when I said it, I was like, it's my number one. But when we get to the end of the year, it's not going to be ranked because it's not a movie. But The Trial of Chicago 7 was the first film that I went, this is the first movie that after I got done watching, going, this is better than Hamilton. In terms of like overall performances and story, because Hamilton is like, it's great, but in the second act there's some certain things, and I'm like, eh. But this is the only movie of the year so far that made me go, this is better than Hamilton, or my experience with this was better than Hamilton. So it's my number one. It's Brian's number two. Now, Brian, go ahead with your. Like this is not Brian's ranking. He just wants to talk about this one last.
Oh no. It's my number one of the year.
Are you officially saying it's your number one?
Honestly, yeah, no, these are top 5.
Oh my god! Okay, here we go. Go ahead with your number one movie of 2020.
Again, when I talk about these are not the best of the year. These are my favorites of the year. These are the movies I enjoyed the most. And my number one is a little film you might have heard of called Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
You better say the full title.
It is not Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey. Don't believe that mismarketing. I'm gonna get so much shit for this one. The fact of the matter is, I just thought this movie was fun. It's like, I mean, clearly it was DC trying to make their version of like Deadpool in the tone and the way it was made and everything. Just like, I don't know, but it's just I thought the comedy. I was going to go on a whole tangent, but I decided not to. but I thought that the comedy worked. I thought the action was well done. I liked the cast from top to bottom, everybody from Ewan McGregor to Mary Elizabeth Winstead to Rosie Perez. I thought everybody in the cast worked perfect. In any other year, if everything that came out this year was supposed to, this would have been in my top 20, maybe top 10. It would have been nowhere near the number one spot, but nothing else did come out. And so this is the one that the biggest, of the kind of movie I enjoy, which is like kind of the big crowd pleasing, just entertainment. It's not trying to be art. Like Trial of Chicago 7, better movie, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as just entertainment value for me, I just had a fun time watching Birds of Prey.
And look, I actually enjoy Birds of Prey. It was, I think, my first real positive, outside of like Invisible Man, it was like my first positive actual review of 2020. I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed it. It's like in my teens or like right around like late teens, 20s rankings. I enjoyed it. It's 1,000 times better than Suicide Squad. Because let's put it this way: when we saw Birds of Prey, like, okay, it's Girl Suicide Squad. No, it's so much better. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, fantastic as Huntress. And I love Ewan McGregor chewing the scenery as Black Mass. Ewan McGregor, one of my favorite actors. And I loved, once again, running theme for me, how much fun he was having playing that character. And Margot Robbie, she has made Harley Quinn her own. And she got to just kind of go, well, yes, she was sharing Will Smith with Suicide Squad. This was her movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why a lot of people kind of got upset with it, was that they thought Birds of Prey, everyone should be equal. But we don't know the rest of that cast. So Harley Quinn is the staple point of that. And everyone, if they make another one, which I think they are, they'll probably get more to work with. But Rosie Perez was solid in it. I love the battle sequence in the final act. And was it like the fun house? I thought that was one of my favorite scenes of the year. I thought it was incredibly well choreographed. The humor is funny. Do I wish Joker would have made an appearance? Yes, but I also don't. Hold on. I also don't want to see Jared Leto again as Joker. Okay. But could we have at least gotten some like cutting room floor stuff from like Suicide Squad in there to just kind of piece it together? Sure, but I love that they made it her role, because that was all about. It's all about identity. Who are you? You're the girlfriend of the Joker, and now your payments come up. You're getting paid back for all the stuff you did. Yeah. I loved how they showed what she did to people, and people were like, "Oh, you're getting your payback now." And then just this, I enjoyed it. It's definitely not my favorite of the year, but I had fun watching that movie. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I will watch anything she's in as well. And just her kind of the one moment where she's trying to act cool in front of the mirror.
Yeah,
one of my favorite moments of the movie, where she's just trying to be badass, and it's failing, and it's so good.
No, I really love this, and like you're talking about, the Joker, maybe the character likes to make an appearance, but the problem is they've established that Jared Leto as the Joker of this world, and he was the worst thing about.
I 100% agree. We are not going to argue that statement.
So I did not want to see him come back. And a lot of the nitpicks people have with this movie are not even nitpicks, just criticisms of the movie. I completely agree with. Should Harley Quinn have been killed 1,000 times in her little police station raid by whatever weapons they would have been using? Things? Absolutely. None of this should have worked. But again, this is a movie I didn't judge by realism. I judged by fun.
It's the world we're in. I mean, in most superhero movies, you could argue the superhero should have been killed at that moment. No way they would have survived. But it's Harley Quinn saying it was an element of surprise. I'm sorry. If smoke bombs and stuff were going and I saw Margot Robbie coming at me, do you really think I'm going to shoot her? No. I'm not, but it's Harley Quinn. She's crazy. Maybe they at least tase her, know. But like even the evidence locker or the evidence room scene, I thought that was like really shot really well. And
it really is. I mean, I don't know much else about this director, but I thought she handled the action scenes really
worked really well. And yes, the ridiculousness of the police scene. Should she have got shot? Sure, but it looked great. Everything looks great in this movie. I thought. And I know so many of our friends are going, no.
They aren't our friends anymore.
They're just like, I can't believe you put this at the end of your best of video. And I don't care. It's our show. If you guys want to talk about it, join the Movie Crusaders and get on here. But right now it's just Brian and I, and we don't care. And that's how we're going to end this show. That's how we're going to end the best of 2020 is talking
best of, a.k.a. Slim Pickings.
Yes, Birds of Prey is what we're talking about. I hope you guys enjoyed this first episode of the weekend, or not Weekend Crusaders. That's a new show we're going to be doing. This is just the Movie Crusaders. And this, like I said, the best 2020 movies in review, the best and most surprise. Next, we will be coming out with that. This one's going to be depressing but yet fun, where it's going to be 2020 movies in review, the worst and most disappointed. And the disappointing one's going to be fun to talk about, I feel.
Yeah,
especially the end. We're going to leave a special one to the end, and that one's probably going to take the most of the time, and it's well deserved. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys hit that like, share, subscribe button to the channel. Like I said, we changed it. We're no longer Sean's Movie Crusades. We are now the Movie Crusaders. Myself and Brian, you're going to see a lot of us. I hope you guys enjoy that. Leave your comments below, what you like, what you dislike. What was your favorite movies of the year? What was your most surprising movies of the year? Do you hate our picks? We don't give a shit. But if you want to talk about it, go right ahead. We don't care if you give us thumbs up, thumbs down. At least that means you guys were watching it. But yes, Brian, anything you want to add before we end this first episode?
No, just looking forward to a year of talking about movies.
And that is what is most important here, because we don't know when the movie theaters are going to come back on. But we hopefully will have plenty of talking about, and especially with the new show, Weekend Crusaders, we are so excited to do this show for you guys. We have at least the first 3 months of the show planned already, and we are so excited, and we hope you guys, and we will be coming out with a video that's going to explain what that show is, so be on the lookout for that. That will probably come out in a week or so, just so we give some more spacing in between time. But yes, but until next time, damn it, yeah, I did it. That is Brian Michaels. I am Sean Wasserkrug. Till next time, in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders, and thanks for watching.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.